Hey, welcome to the You Ask the Pros Answer podcast. Your questions answered by the pros you trust, presented by Pro Exteriors. Do you feel that? Yeah, that's the seasons changing. It's getting colder outside. I got my knit hat on. I'm sitting indoors. I don't know why I'm wearing it inside. Anyway, last week, you heard the first half of a conversation I had with Aaron Rodgers, where I was peppering him with questions all about how to prepare my home, your home, for the winter months. Today, we're going to finish that conversation. We're going to hop in where I ask Aaron how we can be looking out for our home siding. And then we're going to go inside. We're going to talk about the HVAC, attic and crawl space, and a couple of other areas of your house. So let's hop into this conversation that's already in progress that I had with Aaron Rodgers. Let's move to what makes up the side of our house. So whether it be the vinyl siding or brick or whatever is along the side of our house, what are some of those things that we ought to be looking for before it gets too cold out?
Yeah. So kind of similar to the roof, doing a full walk around to your house and, do you have any broken siding? Do you have any holes in your siding? If you have shutters on your home, are the shutters, properly affixed? Do you have any siding that's kind of pulled out? If you see anything kind of that doesn't look right on the siding, typically the easiest thing to do is look for brown staining. The plywood we have has formaldehyde in it, which is the glue that's used to kind of put the plywood together. If it gets wet, it turns brown. So if you have siding and you have brown stains on your siding, it's kind of a red flag. This is a great time to kind of inspect and figure out exactly what's going on. Again, siding butts up to the corners, it butts up to your soffit, it butts up to your windows, it butts up to your doors. They all kind of act as one big ecosystem. So while you're inspecting one, 100% inspect the other. But yeah, siding's not quite as important. Most people don't realize that, siding is water resistant, not waterproof. So it is 100% normal for rain and things to get behind your siding, depending on what type you have. But when it gets behind there, you do have house wrap. So the house wrap is really your last line of defense. So trying to keep as much moisture out from the house wrap is crucial with your siding. Some stuff's going to get back there no matter what. So yeah, just looking for the same thing. You're looking for missing pieces, broken pieces, pieces that aren't, fully locked in before the wind gets to them. I will tell you that if you have vinyl siding on your house, vinyl siding and cold weather don't mix. In the summertime, we can pull on your vinyl siding all day. We can, torque it in every single direction, and it's not gonna have any issues. In the wintertime, vinyl siding snaps really, really easily. So if you call me for a repair and we come out there and we're pulling a piece off in order to do a simple repair and another piece breaks, like that repair is going to expand and it's just going to cost you more money. But yeah, our winds tend to be pretty harsh here in the wintertime. This is a great time to kind of make sure everything's nice and tight so you don't have to deal with that in the winter.
Is fall a good time to power wash it as well? Or is it best to do that earlier in the summer months? Or
so realistically, you can power wash either time. Most people power wash once a year. Even if your house is brand new, the green algae and stuff will kind of get a few months, and that's all it really takes for that stuff to build up.
Perfect example. We have white siding on our house, and with all the construction going on, it's already a mess.
Yep. So it doesn't take long for that stuff to grow. And same thing with your roof, like the black algae that kind of grows on your roof. Unfortunately, you either have it or you don't. I've seen 25-year-old roofs that look like they're brand new, no algae whatsoever, and I've seen 2-year-old roofs that look like they're completely black from the algae and the mold and stuff. So as far as power washing goes, you can power wash your siding in the spring or the fall. It doesn't really matter. If you live in an area where algae seems to grow a little bit more, if you're super close to your neighbor, you don't get a lot of sunlight, you're probably going to see way more algae than your neighbor does. But just use your best judgment on that. If it looks ugly, power wash.
All right.
So
let's move to some of the other, we've kind of hit the big items, but I want to talk a little bit about hose bibs. I talked at the outset of this episode about the plumbing for outdoor showers.
Yep.
This time of year specifically, we have these huge temperature swings where it's 40 degrees in the morning, it's 75 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
When do you, I guess there's no hard and fast rule, but when do you shut those hose bibs off for the winter?
So,
Or do you?
I usually say first frost.
Okay.
So, Farmer's Almanac is always usually pretty accurate as far as like telling you roughly when your first frost will be. By that point, your temperatures are already low enough consistently that you're probably not using your outdoor shower. You're probably not using your pool, and your hot tub's not really the same issue because it's hot water. But yeah, if you're not using your outdoor shower consistently, just shut the water off and blow the lines out.
Okay.
So you talked about the shower valve is ultimately what ended up breaking with your outdoor shower because the water sits in there and that doesn't drain out naturally. So this is a great time to basically pull the shower head off and you can actually put an air hose in there and clean the line out that way. I know down at the beach, we have a lot of beach houses down here that are vacant the entire winter. And that's always one of the things that we suggest is actually physically putting an airline on there and blowing the lines out to make sure all the water's out. If you have PVC pipe, especially if you have PVC pipe that comes out to your outdoor shower, that stuff is super brittle in the wintertime. It does not take much for it to crack. So if you have exterior hose bibs, if you want access to your hose bib for the entire winter, they make these little booties so you can get them at Lowe's and Home Depot. I think they're $5, $6, $7. You can just go on there and they basically put a little clip on it. You pull the little string tight and it keeps them nice and insulated over the wintertime. Dryer vents, same thing. Great time to put cages over your dryer vents if you don't already have one. Again, it's cold outside, squirrels, raccoons, all those things. They want to get inside. You've got that hot air, that good air. That's what they want. And they will go through some pretty extreme measures to get inside your home if they feel that hot air. But yeah, blow the lines out, turn things off, shut the water off, insulate what you can insulate. It used to be when our homes weren't quite as conditioned as they were now. I don't know if you ever remember this, Cole. We're not terribly far off in age, but if you ever remember shutting the foundation vents, most block foundations have foundation vents. Used to open and shut them winter and fall or winter and spring. So I don't know if you've ever had to experience that, but yeah, shutting that down, keeping your crawl space, warmer in the wintertime and allow the kind of the breeze to go through there in the summertime. But yeah, it's a great time to do that as well.
Cool. Deck maintenance. So let's say we don't have composite decking or like a cap composite thing. We have pressure treated lumber. Is it best to clean it and do some kind of a stain or weather seal in the fall, or is it best to wait and do that after the winter and do it in the springtime? Or is it kind of like power washing your house? Do it whenever it seems like it.
So with deck maintenance, I would say spring is the better time to do so. If you have a wood deck that has to be painted or stained, doing that as the temperatures are rising will give you a better final product and will make sure that not only does the actual stuff you're putting on the top, soak in and actually do its job properly, but you want your wood decking to be as dry as it can possibly be. And like you talked about in the fall, we have kind of these really inconsistent temperatures where, we did have a day, I think it was 49 the other morning when I woke up. And then that same day it was 81 as a high during the day. So those extreme temperature fluctuations do put you in a situation where that moisture will not really 100% dry. So if you power wash it during the day, it's going to take consistent, say 60, 70 degree temperatures, with no additional moisture or anything over the next week to even come close to kind of getting the moisture content of that wood to where you want it to be.
Okay.
So I always recommend doing that in the spring. Do it when, at the harshest time of the season for the exterior, for coatings and stuff like that is when the sun is at its worst, which is during the summer. Those UV rays really cook the stain and the paint and all that stuff. So I would highly suggest, power washing, sealing, staining, all that stuff is better to do that in the spring. If worse comes to worse, if you forget to do it in the spring, or let's say you bought the house over the summer and it needs to be done, try to do it in the summer. If you have to do it in the fall, just do it, look at the weather, do it when you have the best overnight temperatures, to try and keep that moisture content as low as you possibly can.
I'm going to play this clip back for my wife, Dawn, because I think our deck needs something, but maybe I can play this back and get a few more months until I have to do it. All right, we're almost down to the ground. I want to talk HVAC for a little bit. So many of us have heat pumps on the outside of our house. Anything that we ought to be doing? I know we need to be changing our air filters. I was told when I moved in here we need to be changing it every month, but that's just because it's brand new construction. But I'm assuming
that's all going to depend
over,
on the system you have.
Yeah.
So you have some systems that have filters that are, if you have a 1-inch thick filter, you're going to replace it every month. If you have, they make filters that are say 2.5, 3 inches, even up to 4 inches, I think is the thickest I've ever seen. Those aren't quite as, they're not quite as cheap. They don't need to replace quite as often. But yeah, if you've got, the standard little 1-inch air filters, I would say the maximum you're going to get out of those is 3 months. If you don't replace them every month or every 3 months, you're going to put yourself in a situation where, especially if you have pets, you're going to have so much hair and dander that build up on that filter that it's not really going to filter much. So yeah,
and it just makes
most
your
situations
system work harder.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, like depending on where your system is, if you have easy access to it, if it's in your garage where you park every day, or if it's in your basement where you literally, you put a 12-pack next to it, and once a month you go out there and you do the thing.
Yeah.
So if it's easy for you, then do it once a month. That's the best. That's the best maintenance you can do to your HVAC system to keep it, running smoothly. The issue you run into with filters is if they get clogged up, if they get jammed up, the airflow ultimately makes the system work harder. And if the system works harder, parts don't last as long. So, your blower motors can go, your thermostats can go, your solenoids can all blow. And, in certain situations, you can kind of put yourself in this, motherboards could be bad. There's just a lot. So it's, I think those filters you can buy a 12-pack for like $150. It's a very, very, very small price to pay if you have access to it. So.
Yeah, and the winter months are not when you want your system to fail you.
Correct.
Because then you end up with frozen pipes and frozen family members. And
yep.
What about like a heat pump outside? Is there anything you need to do? Those things seem pretty resilient, even with snow that sits on top
they're pretty much meant to be outside, year round. Yeah. That's the expectation. So small things. Cleaning them off, making sure that, if you cut grass around your unit all the time and the grass gets blown up, that stuff can build up. Doing something as simple as just hosing it off, keeping it nice and clean is going to give you your longevity out of the system. Look down into it. Do you have a bunch of debris that's building up on the inside? I wouldn't suggest pulling it open and cleaning that out yourself, but if you see that stuff building up on the inside of your unit, then definitely call somebody out and have them come out there and fix it up for you. And then stuff like, your line set that goes from inside your house to your unit itself, most of that's going to have a little, like a black plastic insulation covering on it. If you see that getting dry rotted, or you see a piece got chipped off, or, rodents decided to chew on it and use it for their homes, now's a great time to get that little stuff fixed up. You just want that stuff to be as tight as you possibly can. Again, it all comes down to saving you money in the long run by keeping your units working at like its maximum efficiency.
Yeah. So we started at the roof and we've kind of worked our way down. Are there any other nuggets of wisdom that you have as far as think about your property? What are some of the things that maybe you do this time of year to prepare for the winter months? Things you'd rather do now than, in the dead of winter?
Based upon everything we've talked about, I would say kind of the last thing would be your crawl space in your attic. It's two areas that you don't typically, you don't explore those spaces that often. If you have a crawl space, you most likely, you're going to have one of two scenarios. You're going to have a conditioned crawl space where the walls are insulated and you don't have any insulation in the floor joists above you. Or you have a non-conditioned crawl space where you're probably going to have that insulation above you. If you have insulation in the floor joists, the wintertime is when that stuff comes in, that's when it's most important. So it's always good to kind of poke your head underneath there. If you feel comfortable enough to kind of walk around or crawl around or roll around, whatever you feel the need to do, now's a great time to get underneath there and just make sure everything's tight. Again, sometimes, the little, we call them stays, the little insulation stays are literally just pieces of wire that you put up there and it just kind of holds it in kind of a compression state. If you see a piece falling down, most likely it's just because as you walked around and bounced, that little piece of wire just kind of fell. So now's a great time to get underneath there and do any little maintenance like that. Same way with your attic space. If you have blown in insulation or bad insulation, get up there and just make sure everything's nice and tight. See if you have any areas that you feel like the insulation is lower in some areas, or, for bad insulation, if it gets compressed over time, something falls on it, insulation, your R values, those R values only maintain that certain level if the insulation is installed properly. So, if bad insulation is supposed to be this thick and it gets put down to this, you went from like an R20 to an R10. So, excuse me.
I know there's such thing as baffles up in the eaves, like in your attic.
Yes.
If you see daylight, is that necessarily a bad thing, or is that part of the design of the house to allow it to ventilate?
Yeah, that's part of the design. So if you're in your attic space and you look down into your soffits, if you see daylight coming through there, then that means it's proper. Okay. Sometimes when you have soffit baffles in there, the way it's supposed to be done is the baffle kind of goes from your soffit area up above your insulation. The insulation should be tight there. You don't want airflow just free flowing through there.
Okay.
So yeah.
Cool. All right. So Aaron, really the theme that I hear you sharing throughout this is don't put off the things that need to be done. You're going to save a whole lot of money, a whole lot of headaches if you get on top of it. And really all it takes is wandering around your property, accessing places that you don't look every day. And then if you don't feel comfortable, or if you physically can't do it, call on somebody who can.
Yep.
All right. I hope you feel more prepared now for the winter months than you did before this episode started. That is all we have for you today on the You Ask the Pros Answer podcast. To everyone who has been sharing the word about the show, thank you. Continue to do so. Would you please rate us on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, or simply tell a friend? Also, if you are watching this on YouTube, please be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Also, before I forget, happy Thanksgiving. Next week, we are taking the week off because it's Thanksgiving, but we'll be back the following week with another episode. If you are facing an upcoming home improvement project or just trying to get your house ready for the colder months, we hope episodes like this help empower you to tackle it with confidence. Remember, knowledge is power, and a little bit of research can go a long way. Until next time, happy homeowning. The You Ask the Pros Answer podcast is produced in-house by the Pro Exteriors team. Pro Exteriors is the exterior contracting division of Empire Construction Group, LLC. This podcast is intended for informational purposes only and should not be considered legal advice. For more answers to your questions, please subscribe to this channel and podcast so you'll never miss an episode. Do you have an upcoming home remodeling project? Find more answers to your questions at askproexteriors.com. Hey, thanks for watching this video. Would you please help us out by hitting that subscribe button? That would be awesome. Also, if you never want to miss another one of our uploads, please be sure to hit that notification bell. All right, thanks. See ya.